most people know me in the community around Atlanta. I am a Cleveland, Ohio native. I'm from the Midwest, but I've been in Atlanta 25 years, so this is definitely home. I have spent all of my adult years. I'm in my early 40s. And of course I've been working as well as partying in the community. So yeah, I'm pretty locally known and statewide known Atlanta. On I want to say on the brink of 19, almost fresh out of high school. And so of course, if any of your listeners or you know anything about Atlanta, black. Oh, let me say this: I grew up in a heavy church background. My parent, well, my mom, my dad, we took them a long time to get in the fold. But my grandparents, my grandfather was a musician, minister of music in the church, and had a heavy church background and sheltered, and of course, cloth.
Hey y'all, my name is Jesus Holguin. I am 28 years old. My pronouns are they, eje, or anything as long as there's not a negative intent. And I'm here in Providence, Rhode Island. A lot of what I do in my local town is fight for social justice through an environmental lens. And what that means for me is making sure that folks have access to spaces where they have clean air, clean spaces, clean water, while also not having to worry about being the safety or being policed for being policed around their skin color, who they love, and how they express themselves. When I was 15, um, my mom got arrested and deported. And so I had a lot of free time outside of home, whatever that was, right? Because I was like, there's nobody home. I'm gonna do after school programs. I'm gonna do the extra, like everything. I was out my house till like 8, 9 o'clock till everything closed. My school had money to start an after school program, and it was we basically asked my friends, what do we want to start? It was we want to start our gender and sexuality alliance and or GSA. Um, and so we started it. There's like an awesome organization that I used to work at um, that helps high school students start their GSAs and do that kind of stuff and like advocates for them. In that space, we had like the one trans out person, the one queer out person, the like in the closets, the like right like the, like a good range of folks. And but it was all my friends, and you know they wouldn't be critical on me on like, oh, why are you hanging out with us, being like, are you gay or are you straight, right? It'd be like, what do you like? We're over here talking about that we like. What do you like, Jesus? And as a kid, I never really thought about what I like. That stuff was never.
I am FREDDY. Sometimes I go by Ricky. My tag on Insta and TikTok is it's mixed fish, and it looks like mixed Gotti, but I kind of wanted to put into where I'm like I am a hetero or a homo cis male, but like it kind of like fluid for me. You know what I mean? Like when people ask me what do I identify as, like, I'm 29 years old. I am an aspiring writer. I have like a lot of stories. Have one that is complete. None of them are published just yet. A little nervous about getting that out there. Well, there was one story that kind of stuck out to me that I didn't learn till later, much later. There was this guy that was in Waterloo. I'm not even sure how they identified, but I believe he was either trans or just like to just dress like, femme presenting. And people were saying that he was a serial killer, that he would take little boys and eat their penis and stuff like that. They said all these awful things about this person, and that it was just not okay to be feminine. I was raised to be, I had to be some type of masculine head leader. I can't even remember any Black gay male presenting person that we ever knew of. My sister was always friends with like a lot of people. So I've seen like maybe homosexual females or it was kind of rough. Any type of feminine trait that I had was bullied upon immediately. So it was rough.
I'm fortunate and cursed. I have a family history that's interesting and dynamic. My father is bisexual. While I thought my father's family was homophobic, they really weren't. It was just how I had perceived the world as a child, and I assumed that they would be like everybody else. I knew who I was as early as I knew who I was. And the only thing that bothered me, or that was trying to figure out as a little kid when I was about 5 or 6, was how I was going to marry a man, because I knew I was. I was certain of it. I was certain of it. So it was like, how do you do it? And so for a while I thought, well, I guess I turned into a woman because only women were married to men. I was like, but I don't want to be a woman. So what is this thing that I am? And so I'm naturally inquisitive. So I was in libraries, and we're a reading family who always have multiple books going at once. So I would pick up this book and go to the library in the H section under homosexual when nobody was looking, and read something and go, okay, I'm normal. And then I'd go back, and I probably read every book that was in the damn library on homosexuality and gay. So I was fortified in that way. I'm also blessed because by the time I was 11, I met a person who would be my lifelong friend. He's my brother, and he's gay too. And we came out to each other at 11 years old. So we got to spend puberty. I mean, if you can imagine the preciousness, already 10 and he was still 11. And you know how your mom sends you to the store. So that was our friendship, was my mom sending me to the store. Do you want to go with me to the store? So we go into the store together. And on the way to the store, we would talk about what our sisters liked. So we would say, well, you know, my sister thinks that Tony is cute. And I'd be like, really? Because my sister thinks that Eddie is cute. And he was like, oh yeah? Because my sister thinks that Bobby is super cute and she wants to kiss him. And I was like, oh yeah? Now, I did stand-up comedy, so I always follow with, oh yeah? Well, my sister likes Freddie and she wants to because it was basically like, we're out now. We're out to each other. And so we just shared puberty with each other, liking boys. We had someone to take that to. And I realized how rare that is, to have someone at 12 years old, 11 years old, to be able to say, I like this boy, and oh my God, and oh my, there's all of that. So I had that. So I had a fortification of myself. I am a sexual abuse survivor. And that, while that would normally tear a person apart, it was the gifts of that friendship that helped me to become, and then I went to Performing Arts High School in Baltimore, where you can be very, very gay. And so I was out, I went to my first gay bar at 14. And let's just call that what that is, why they were letting children into a bar. Should not be letting children into a bar. What kind of behavior is that, right? But they did, they let us in. So I went to the Last Stop, which was the first gay bar I went to in Baltimore. If anybody's watching this who's about my age, they will be like, oh, I've heard of the Last Stop. There were only a few Black gay bars. So it was one of those. And that was in the mid 80s. By the time I graduated high school, I was not out, but I was so confident in myself that I never felt like I needed to prove anything to anyone. And ironically, I got voted most popular. So I had like a, you know what I mean? Sort of that thing. I went to college, went to a HBCU, Morgan State University. And my experience there was similar to how it was growing up, you know, brand new world. So I'm back in my shell, and I'm deathly afraid in an HBCU because it is heterosexism to toxic levels. You went to an HBCU.
Yes, I went to North Carolina A&T.
So you, oh my God, so you definitely know the Greek fraternities, and I wanted to be in a fraternity. I was like, I want to be a Kappa so bad. They are so cute. I love the little red sweatshirt.
I wanted to be a Q because I kind of identify with the good time guy that a Q was, but yeah. I knew when I got there that I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it through. I knew they were going to haze the hell out of me.
I got word, I think it was 6 months after being in Morgan, because I had said that I liked the Qs and I was thinking about being a Q, that they were going to literally abuse me the entire time, and they would spend nothing but the time making me drop. And then I had said, I'll put up with it. Like I thought about it a couple of years later, like, I'm tough enough. They can't throw anything at me. I know they can't really make me do anything. So, it's just kind of psychological. So I'll psych them. But then I found this, a friend of mine who had pledged Kappa at our campus, they also wanted to drop. So what they did was they did their crossing over without him. They just told him it was one day and did it the day before. And I was like, they can do that. And they were like, yeah, they can. I was like, so I don't want that. So Morgan State wasn't going to give me that. But what I kept being was myself. I was, like I said, always very unapologetically myself. I had a reputation on campus for braids and booty shorts. I'll just say it. But let me tell you, in the early 90s at a Black college, a Black boy with long braids and short shorts was like, you are asking for some trouble. But I'm a smart mouth. And I'm a smart guy. And so I never let words, like, like most people, like the gay thing is too, I'm not bothered by it, I'm just gonna keep going. I would not keep fucking going. Because I knew I can't beat nobody's ass here. And I definitely can't beat everybody's ass here. So I would just turn around and confront them right there. If they would say something like, I was like, so you're looking at my shorts. I said, what are you really looking at? And then I would just walk away and just burn them. I got a reputation for don't fuck with him. Because he's going to say some shit to you and try to embarrass you.
The neighborhood-friendly Black Bear, queer love is love. How you doing? Here on the 1s and 2s for you. Check it out. I'm 42 years old come March. I live in Toronto, Canada right now. Born and raised in New York City, Brooklyn, Queens. Stand up. And now I'm just living the winter life in the cold of Toronto, Canada, with my husband and my dog who are out for a walk. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, Queens, New York City, from 0 to 8, I guess, birth to 8, Brooklyn, and then 8 till 17. I lived in Queens. Then I moved to Pennsylvania for 2 years. My parents moved to Poconos. I graduated Poconos, did marching band up there, and did like that stuff. It was very much different, but I appreciated it. The lifestyle was slower. But then I came back to school. I went back to New York to get my schooling on in visual effects, special effects, visual arts, computer graphics, all that stuff. And then did a little military, then did this, that, and the third. So now I'm doing music. I've been doing music. I've been doing music almost all my life, but now it's become like the pinnacle of my career is slowly approaching, I hope. And we'll go from there. But yeah, I had a horrible childhood. My stepfather, he's an asshole, still an asshole. We're actually fighting him now. My sister and I are fighting him for my mom's house because we're all three on it, and he's just being an asshole. So that's fun because she passed away like 2 years ago. Thank you. And I wasn't able to go to the funeral because of the lockdown at the time here in Toronto and I guess the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just an asshole. So we're fighting lawyers right now with him. And hopefully we'll be able to get the house sold and we'll be stress-free from there on out with him. But overall, I mean, I can never complain about my childhood. I came out as gay when I was 22, something like that. But my parents, well, my mom, my stepdad, my sister knew I was different. I remember them asking me if I had any girlfriends or I liked girls when I was like 13 or 14. Not that I was like, oh yes, girl. I just got girlfriends. They thought, no girlfriends equals gay. And I was like, no, I'm not gay.
So was there an age that you had started to realize that you like had those feelings? And did you ever think that they would not accept you?
When I was 7 years old, I had those feelings. And yes, I totally didn't think they would accept me at 7 years old. Because I was not even understanding what it was that I was interested in. Mm-hmm. I saw magazines and videos and all that kind of stuff, and then it started changing. My taste started changing when the internet came out, and I started seeing other ideas of masculinity, sexuality, all that kind of stuff on videos and on AOL chat lines, all these things that we had growing up. For us old folks, we just had the internet. It was just popping out like, ooh, what's all this? Click on it, like, whoa, that's a lot. I mean, we keep watching this? What is this? What they doing? What? So you're exploring your sexuality through someone else's eyes,
Right.
which is crazy. But before that was magazines and videos. Now you're actually seeing people in person, so to speak.
My name is VERDELL. I grew up in a small town in New Jersey named Asbury Park, right on the shore. Let's see what else. I'm always bad at I know how you and I encountered one another is, I'm sure you saw some of my TikToks. I went to Howard University School of Divinity, graduated with a Master's of Divinity, and then I went to Wesley Theological Seminary and got a Master's in Theological Study. And I researched and discussed evangelical culture and politics. After that, did a lot of advocacy work, a lot of progressive religious organizing work and all of that. And I'm still doing advocacy communications as a career today. Interesting story. So Asbury Park, particularly in the late 80s and early 90s, late 80s and 90s, I was born in 83. So I know enough. I remember the 80s, lived through it, was like a person through a decent chunk of the 80s. It was a secondhand knowledge, right? And then through the 90s. So I know about what life was like when the TV went off. And I know what it's like to use email. I'm like that generation that kind of remembers both, like the last people that knows what it's like when the radio is off for the night. In that way. I know one time someone asked me, it's like, it went off. I thought, oh yeah, there was no 24-hour anything, sweetheart. Once it was 12 o'clock, it was done. Good night, find a book. But for me, my childhood was very challenging, but it was challenging in a way that's not what is stereotypical, I would say, for a lot of Black folks, like, particularly, like I'm saying, before I diverged a bit, Asbury Park was a pretty rough town in a lot of ways. But, I had my mom, my dad lived in the house, but so it wasn't like, I wasn't starving. I wasn't, without anything. It was clear that I was well taken care of, but I would say that emotionally, I was not taken care of at all. Pretty destitute in that way. School was awful, basically, abused left and right, not sexually, but just like emotional abuse, physical abuse, like really dangerous things. Like we're talking like threatened with a gun, knocked unconscious and left in the field. Yeah, I'm very, like serious. So it's like, it was not fun times, and home wasn't exactly a safe space either. So you have this kind of thing where people are like, well, look at Jaquan over there. He don't even get breakfast. So what are you complaining about? And it's like, well, I'm complaining because I don't want to be at school. And then when I have to go home, I don't want to be at home. So, you know what I mean? So it's a different type of trauma that it can be. And so what I would say for me, and this is why I said before, I think it's complicated when, people get the whole, like, it's true. Some people have the luxury of being able to be like, oh, I'm not gay until they want to say that they're gay. And then some people, it's like, oh no, sis was wearing heels and doing backflips and wanted to, okay, yes, we see it. And so while I do think that's true, I also think that particularly sometimes in our communities, I was never really given the option of being straight or being like a man in that way. I think Moonlight is the best example, the closest example to what it was like for me growing up, mostly because of gender. I don't see in a lot of the good Black queer media and movies, I generally don't see anyone whose story resembles me. And everyone is some type of handsome, cool, some form of it. They have problems and struggles, but no one is really awkward. No one is, everyone is attractive somehow. Like everybody is gay, queer, and some form of wonderful, not awkward, not going on dates, type of stuff. But Moonlight, and I've only seen it once because I saw it once and I was done for 2 weeks. I was like, I can't take this. But that was the closest to what my upbringing was like. I wasn't overly effeminate, but I was a curious kid, and it was clear that I wasn't like the other boys. And if you don't, I don't know why, particularly with a lot of Black gay men, we have this thing, we all notice that being able to read was just labeled as being gay. or feminine somehow. I don't know what that was about. I don't know if that's still the case, but it was like, wow, I can read without using my finger, a queer. I don't know what that was about.
Like, what does that have to do with one or the other? It's really quite strange.
Yeah, I mean, and I've heard it from enough people, but I mean, of course, it was more than that. Like, I would have rather read a book. I would have rather, do like during recess, I would have rather do other things. And it wasn't because I didn't like athletics. I was pretty strong and pretty good. I just didn't want to. Recess was maybe one of the few times I had a break from the folks who were bothering me all the time.